What was loved by poor people until rich people ruined it. Comic cons used to be pretty affordable, and you could chat with celebrities for a while. Now they are a huge extravaganza, with multiple levels of admission and VIP access and VIP seating. Pictures and autographs with bigger celebrities can cost a shitload, and you wait in multiple lines, and are rushed through it. When I went, pre-COVID, I normally just see/buy art. Those folks are usually not super busy, and will often sign stuff for free, unless they are big dudes like Frank Miller. Comic cons are just elaborate Funko trade conventions now. Fuck Funko. Every little cool mountain town in the American West, move in, build their $1 million mansion, and spend the next decade complaining about how the internet is spotty, the electricity goes down during blizzards, and mountain lions keep killing their shit sus. I've seen it so many times. Meanwhile the locals breed mountain lions to get rid of the shih tzus. Mountain lion cubs are cuter than shih tzus. Math checks out. Living near the coast used to be a poor people thing a long time ago. My grandfather bought a house on Cape Cod when he retired from being an airline mechanic in the late 60s. He wasn't poor, but he sure as hell wasn't rich, and a normal middle class person wouldn't be able to do that today. Even if you inherit a house free and clear, the property taxes will eat you alive if you aren't rich. My grandparents had a summer home in Door County, Wisconsin that was right on the water. Without telling anyone else they sold it, because who's gonna want some crummy old cabin? The land is worth millions today. My grandfather owned a hotel and a ton of land in the Borscht Belt back in the 40s. When the highway was built and the business started to fold, he sold everything. All the land. My dad and aunts were like, can you keep a little bit of it? But he didn't. It's gorgeous land, too. The building is still there. It's beautiful but abandoned. There's a small river going through acres of fields and forests. Ooh. Theater used to be the entertainment for the masses, and now it's ridiculously expensive and inaccessible to most people. It's killing theater and opera. Too expensive for young people to go, so they don't start going regularly. When they have more money, theater is eating its seed con. Sewing and sewing supplies. The new machines are plastic garbage, and since it's become a hobby, rather than for the average person, the patterns after the 70s use way too much fabric. Creating YouTube channels. The worst part of this is that they all use the same format. Vlogs. 50 different camera cuts in a span of 2 minutes. Clickbait titles and thumbnails. Don't forget doing an absolute stupid open mouth expression. Why is that so prevalent? I know it's because it works, but I just don't get it. I avoid them when I see them because I don't want to encourage it. But I also realize it's kind of pointless when they still get 3 meter views. They don't care that they didn't get 3 meter plus 1. I guess they draw viewers in because if the person is looking shocked or surprised in the thumbnail, then viewers assume the person will be shocked or surprised in the video and want to find out why that is, hence more clicks. Podcasts. The number of amazing podcasts that have been ripped off by celebrities who are so out of touch with the average person's daily experiences is disgusting. They are so starved for attention they have to take over any discussion that's happening. I don't remember which one, but an established comedian said he makes more money for a 1-hour podcast than a month of headlining Friday and Saturday night shows. So he and his comedian friends just take turns on each other's podcasts just bullshitting with each other, and apparently people eat it up. I'm sure someone already mentioned this, but camping. It used to cost close to nothing to reserve a campsite. Some are still cheap, but now they've gone all bougie and some sites charge you ridiculous fees to pitch a tent in the woods. Same with music festivals in the forests. People would go to get away from bullshit societal hierarchies and enjoys music and self-expression. Then they got all mainstream, and it lost its original meaning. Think Burning Man. I remember camping with my dad in British Columbia in the 90s. We'd stick with the provincial parks, where you basically got trees, a picnic table, a firing, a communal water spigot, and an outhouse. You'd show up, pick an empty spot, then the caretaker would come around in the evening and collect $9 per night. Several years we'd managed to bump into the same people, like the Dutch couple that would make a month-long trip across Canada every July. One of our favorite parks had only 9 small sites backing onto Arrow Lake. suitable for tenting or a camper. If it was full, they had a big grass field for overflow, and you'd hope for a spot to open the following day. During a rainstorm one evening, a couple other kids taught me how to play MTG. Nowadays there's a reservation system for provincial parks. Many parks are fully booked the day that reservations open in March. They charge $6 a night for the reservation on top of the $30 a night camping fee. Those 9 original sites at our favorite park were cleared to make way for showers and flush toilets. And they built 75 new sites that are large gravel pads suitable for big RVs. Not so much for tenting. The Champion brand. I remember Goodwill and Walmart selling their Champion stuff for cheap. Now it's designer, and it costs so much more now. SMH edit. I'm so glad that other people know what I'm talking about. This was my first comment after making a Reddit for myself. Also, designer is a very strong word. It's more in trend and popular. It's not as big as Michael Kors and Steve Madden, but it's difficult to find a Champion sweater for less than $50-100 plus when it used to be $10-20. Exactly. Champion was the cheap clothing brand at Target for such a long time. Now they cost twice as much without any increase in quality or style, in my opinion. I'm old enough to remember when Champion used to compete with Nike, Reebok, Adidas for athletic apparel. They supplied uniforms to the NFL and NBA in the 90s. The best sweatshirts came from them. They had awesome mesh gym shorts. Then they made the budget line deal with Target and sorta went away from the higher quality stuff. Now it's everywhere as a fashion statement. Vinyl collecting. It was a dead cheap to get into industry as a hobby. Now come and get your $50 RST special jizz splatter Chet Baker ep. Farmers markets. Used to be cheap when I was younger. Now it's a hipster's paradise and expensive as heck. All the local farmers markets in my area are now overrun with MLM bullshit. Instead of delicious homemade regional foods, eggs, produce, and honey, it's Tupperware, weight loss shakes, and Macoop. Wish the markets would ban them, but I'm guessing the Huns have taken over all the leadership positions so they can push their garbage. Glad to see this one called out. I can appreciate that the MLM crowd helped bring consistent income to the market organizers. But why does it cost so much to set up tents and trucks at the town park? All types of what was traditionally poor people food, pork belly, oxtails, etc. All the things that used to be cheap because they were considered to be the trash parts. Now that people realize how delicious they can be, it's driven the price up. Pork belly used to be so much more affordable. It's a true shame how much it jacked up in price. I'm not sure what pork belly used to cost, but here in my area hardly anyone buys it or knows how to cook it, so the store is often marking big 5-pound chunks for like $10. I pick one up every so often, marinate overnight, and then slow smoke over mesque white for 7 to 8 hours the next day. Makes excellent tacos or pork rice bowls. Avocados have become so popular that the locals can no longer afford them. I mean, that has a lot to do with the fact that cartels took over. My dad used to have a small avocado farm in Southern California, Fallbrook area. He said between all the cheap fruit coming from Mexico and the state water restrictions / surcharges due to the drought, it just wasn't feasible anymore. A young guy mentioned he wanted to start his own farm and my dad told him, "Don't do it. It will break your heart." I first realized Mexican avocados were serious business when I saw Super Bowl ads. The water restriction gripes bugged me. I get that there was, and somewhat still is, a huge ag economy in California. But the fact is, the water simply isn't there naturally. Continuing to hold fast to a place that is actually really inconvenient to grow food seems really foolish to me. To be fair, the desertification of California isn't natural. It is the result of overfarming. So if we hadn't started overfarming in the first place, we wouldn't constantly be on the verge of catastrophic drought or actively on fire. Thrift stores. Did you know about something called ThriftCon? People fly out to a convention center to buy vintage stuff, lol. I saw a video about that in Atlanta. They basically just reinvented the flea market, but for rich people. My favorite part was the $5 bin, as if those were the cheapest items there. LMAO. Those $5 items are probably going for like 50 cents at an actual thrift store. Trucks. 80. $0 for a truck is nuts. Read that as 80. $0 for truck nuts. That's a lot of nuts. That'll be $4 baby, you want fries with that? Mexican food. Especially simple stuff like tacos and burritos. It used to be the cheap option. Especially where I live, as there's a huge Hispanic population and lots of great cheap Mexican taquilla places. Then all of a sudden tacos became trendy, and now places with $5+ tacos exist, and everything went up in price pretty quickly. Stopped and got my wifey favorite dish from the local Mexican place. $22 for just steak fajitas. Rice and beans with a side. No drink. Nothing extra. $22 I'm just going to learn to make it at home. In Mexico for $22 you could buy literal kilograms of al pasta. Plus tortillas and onions and stuff and have change. Montessori schools. They were designed to improve education of children who otherwise couldn't afford a good one, and now there are these exclusive private schools that only the middle class and above can afford. The toys and resources that were designed with the program as things that were affordable and of enough quality and usability to be worth it for poorer families are now sold at prices that only those who are well off would consider purchasing them. Second-hand shopping. There's nothing worse than going into a completely harvested op shop and not being able to find anything in your size / of good quality because hipsters came and raided the place and sold everything at a 150% markup on their fucking Depop account. Or the shop themselves cut out the middleman and sell all the decent to good stuff on auction sites while they fill their stores with broken shoes and washed out H&M t-shirts. Affordable housing. There are so many wealthy people from the city buying up cheap homes where I live simply to rent them to other wealthy people from the city on Airbnb. People can't afford to live here anymore, but most of the homes are empty 6 months out of the year. Airbnb is wrecking the housing market in so many places. Because there are so few regulations compared to hotels, and landlords can make more money running an Airbnb than renting the same apartment. It's a similar story to Uber versus taxes, except with a lot worse societal impacts. Chicken wings. Used to be the cheapest part of the bird. Holy F, it took me way too long to find this comment. Remember 5-cent wing nights? It wasn't that effing long ago. Now 35-cent wing nights or 50-cent wing nights are advertised as a good deal. Suck my effing A. Not to mention how much we've done to inflate the meat on the wing. Like, I get it. You obviously wanted to have more. But if you're going this far with genetics, it's no longer a chicken wing and more of a mini drumstick. Pretty sure the reason chicken wings were good was because of the soft cartilage which gives it its distinct flavor, not the actual meat. Agreed. Like, I don't need to eat an entire leg. That's why I get like 20 wings. I wanna work for it. I'm not one of the people to discard after baby bites. Hot springs. Used to be for everyone and often viewed as dirty or undesirable by the upper class. Now people are buying up land featuring hot springs and making them expensive resorts. Almost sounds like rich people shame shit because it's cheap, then turn around and make it expensive and jerk themselves off over it. Rich people love to cosplay as people below them, as mobsters, as badasses, as extreme athletes, as poor people, etc. Carhartt clothing. Everybody wants to wear carpet clothing, but nobody wants to do carpet work. Apostrophe. That's the truth. Football was working man's game. My dad took me and my cousin to games every week, home and away. This is beyond many now. My great granddad played for Southampton and had to have a second job to support his family. No chance you'll find a footballer these days needing a second job. In Australia in the late 80s, the biggest star of the day, Gary Ablett, nicknamed God, was a part-time and utterly useless delivery van driver. A few of his very well-known and highly skilled teammates worked as garbage collectors. Cheap foods, donuts, cupcakes, hamburgers, wings that have all been given the foodie treatment and went from good cheap eats to gourmet pricing without a corresponding increase in quality. The funniest one was the awful movement of a few years ago. The ultimate, are rich people really overpaying for pig nows? Been doing that. You are what the rich did to the price of oxtail. Dude, I used to get beef shanks with marrow bones for like 50 each. Now they are upwards of $5 a piece. Don't even get me started on plain marrow bones, which used to basically be free. Shopping at Goodwill is on its way. Just the other day, a pack of rabid teenage girls who were clearly dropped off in a minivan and were all wearing name brand stuff tore my local Goodwill apart. It was astounding to watch. It was like a bunch of seagulls ransacking a picnic. It's hard to be mad at that kind of thing because they are just enjoying themselves. But man, if I don't miss grabbing 15 plus clothing items for under $10. At least Thursday is $1 tag day. This explains a lot. I live in SoCal, and there's a Goodwill by the beach where I work. And there's always a line out the door of people waiting for them to open up. I'm like, the Goodwill. I'm just an average income guy. What's up with this? I still don't get how this started. TikTok and thrift hauls on YouTube. Predates TikTok. Probably goes back to at least 2012 YouTube upcycling / glam up tutorials. Flank steak for carne asada. I think that's the cut anyway. Used to be dirt cheap. Now it's a significant cost. If you want to feed a group of people, there might be other reasons. Though, I used to get 2 pounds of skirt steak for like $7. I bought a pound and a half the other day for $15. Granted, the store I shop at now is overpriced on just about everything. But unless I go to the Mexican market 10 miles away, the pricing is pretty similar. Tybee Island. Acre. The Redneck Riviera used to be a place where one could get a house close to the beach for a relatively low price, until rich movie stars started buying there. Also Street. Simmons Island. I thought the Redneck Riviera was Panama City. I don't even want to see St. Simmons mentioned on a public forum. It's getting absurdly crowded, and the tourists get worse and worse. Along with the traffic construction issues this year, it's a fucking nightmare. I see people come down to look for a house and nope right out of that plan. Skiing. When I moved to Colorado, a lift ticket cost about $30. Spending a day on the slopes was reasonable for a person with a job. Now prices are over $200 at some resorts. No thanks. F Vail. Breckenridge too. I love both resorts, but the corporation is evil. Food that was cooked out of necessity. Chinese dumplings or pot stickers, for example, was a way to stretch out meat rations over an extended amount of time. A pound of meat can be quickly consumed by a family of 5, but if you wrap small portions of that meat with carrots, cabbage, and virtually any vegetable in dough and either boil it or fry it, you can satiate the entire household for a longer period of time. When rich people started making it, basically with the same ingredients, the tone of the dish changed. Before, it was consumed because hard decisions had to made to make it through a rough period. Now, at places like Fats, a set of 5 dumplings will set you back about $15 and served as an appetizer to a $100 or more meal, giving the illusion that you're eating some bull in a dumplings when in reality, it's just dumplings. The same can be said for every carb. Really, why is Mexican food wrapped in tortillas and stuffed with beans, rice, and vegetables? Because those carnitas are expensive. So we are packing it in cheap stuff to make it stretch. Why is Indian food served with naan, roti, or over rice? Because grains are cheaper than meats. Italian pasta, French bread, porridges, cornbread, mashed potatoes, fries / chips. All just a way to combine the cheapest starch that can be obtained in the area with whatever protein is available. My husband and I went to a highly reviewed empanada restaurant to try a variety of things. It was $4-5 per empanada, and there were 2 bites maximum. They were delicious, but after $40 we were still hungry. Storage shed auctions used to be really cheap until that stupid Storage Wars show came along. Now instead of buying cheap for some furniture, too many people are jacking up the prices thinking that there's some lost antiques worth thousands that they'd find in every unit. Basically everything. If it's popular with the poor, rich people will eventually find a way to take it over so they can turn a tidy profit. I was going to say this too. Conspicuous consumption is now seen as unsophisticated and gauche. Appearing to be frugal by making intelligent purchase choices is the chic thing now. So frugal purchases that are actually fiscally wise items have skyrocketed in price, meaning that a no-nonsense poor person once again has to recalibrate just to dress himself. Taking junky old cars and fixing them up as a hobby. Rich people discovered they could buy uploads of potentially very worthwhile project cars for not much, restore them to a level of unobtainable quality and price, which drove the price up. Now everyone knows what they have, eye roll, PNG, and holds out for the big buyers instead of the neighbor down the street. They turned a hobby into a billion-dollar industry and entertainment conglomerate, so they can sell the cars to other rich people, since few people can afford a $200 000 restored Mustang or GTO, or whatever it is. I feel like the internet is a reason for everyone knowing what they have now. The age of getting great deals on cars is dead due to the internet, not exactly because of rich people. It's not just cars. My parents sell antiques. Everyone googles everything before they buy. Unfortunately, haggling is part of the game too. My mom gets really sick of pricing, knowing that people will try to offer her half. It's fun to watch. She prices knowing this will happen, which actually works to her advantage. Sometimes people just pay without trying to talk her down. Walking/hiking. The best spots are now full of picture happy influencers instead of nature lovers. Yes. I won't even go the smaller state parks these days, because the trails around the parking areas are chock full of selfie taking idiots just standing around. Brooklyn. Pandemic pricing brought it back to where it was about 5 to 8 years ago, but still ridiculous, and it'll bounce back by next year. Gaming. Hear me out. Somebody is making those fucking microtransactions profitable for those companies. I fucking hate this shit. I remember when you could get a free game that was fun and didn't have ads every 2 seconds and was actually playable without buying in-game currency. Vegan food. When it became a trend, the label vegan made it 50% more expensive. There was a huge scandal in the late 2000s when it was revealed most pizza shops didn't use real cheese because plant-based was cheaper. Today vegan cheese 200% compared to normal cheese. The outdoors. So many places used to be difficult to get to, required some level of toughness and grit just to see. More and more people argue that they are entitled to see these places without that, and they're flooding in, paving roads, cramming parking lots full, and trampling some of the most pristine, delicate, untouched areas of the world. I'm not trying to keep these places, but nature sure was. Champion. Filler. Adidas. Let's be real. Adidas has skyrocketed in their prices since a certain family thought ball lines were considered fashion now.